The world is louder, faster, and more demanding than ever. But in 2025, your peace begins within. These 10 timeless Buddhist lessons will help you detach from the chaos, rediscover your purpose, and master the art of focusing only on you. This year, choose clarity over noise. When the mind becomes still, we see clearly. Self-awareness is the beginning of all growth, not because it offers answers, but because it invites the right questions. Each moment you spend observing your breath, your thoughts, your reactions, you are planting the seeds of transformation. Buddhists teach that without mindfulness, we drift, unconsciously reacting, consumed by distractions, unaware of the patterns that govern us. But the simple act of paying attention breaks the spell. Sit, breathe, ask gently, what am I feeling right now? And listen without judgment. That is the first doorway, awareness of self. When you know who you are, you begin to understand why you do what you do. But most people live on autopilot, chasing goals they've never questioned. That is why defining your why becomes essential. Purpose, in Buddhism, is not ambition. It is dharma, truth aligned with action. You may succeed in the eyes of others, yet feel hollow inside if you are disconnected from your own purpose. So you must pause and ask, why do I wake up each day? What do I serve beyond the noise? Without that clarity, the mind becomes fragmented, chasing shadows. But when you define your inner purpose, your actions become aligned, and the scattered pieces of life begin to weave into meaning. And yet, even with purpose, we often veer off course because we're looking outward, chasing validation from others. The Buddha taught that the root of suffering is craving, and craving validation is one of the subtlest traps. You may not crave wealth or power, but perhaps you crave being seen, admired, approved of. Social media has turned this into a cycle of constant comparison, and unknowingly, we hand our peace over to the opinions of others. But you must return to yourself. The applause is fleeting, the silence is where peace resides. Detachment is not coldness, it is freedom. You still care, but you are no longer bound. You create, you speak, you act, not for approval, but from alignment. Then there is the matter of control. Life is unpredictable. The economy, relationships, health, none of it can be commanded. The only control we have is how we respond. Picture yourself as a boat in a storm. You cannot control the waves, but you can hold your oars. The modern mind suffers because it clings to what it cannot change. Buddhist wisdom teaches us to accept impermanence, not with resignation, but with strength. Suffering arises when we resist what is. Peace begins when we surrender to the truth and shift our focus inward. Our attitude, our choices, our growth. This shift reclaims our energy from anxiety and anchors us in what is real. And what is real must be reflected in how we live. This is why aligning actions with values is non-negotiable. In Buddhism, the Eightfold Path outlines right action as a core pillar. Many live lives that contradict their beliefs, working jobs that betray their ideals, maintaining relationships that dull their spirit. This dissonance creates inner conflict. But when you act in accordance with your core values, whether it's compassion, truth, or creativity, you create harmony. Your days begin to feel coherent. Ask yourself before each decision, does this reflect who I want to be? If not, step away. Integrity is the compass that keeps you grounded, especially when the world tempts you to compromise. In a distracted world, to focus is to rebel. The mind, untamed, jumps from thought to thought, from notification to impulse. But Buddhism offers a clear solution: present moment awareness. When you eat, just eat. When you walk, just walk. This simplicity sharpens the mind like a blade. Multitasking is a myth. The brain switches, it doesn't stack. And every switch drains clarity. So practice single tasking. Choose one priority. Give it your full attention. If the mind wanders, return it again and again. This is not weakness, it is training. Over time, you reclaim your concentration, and in doing so, you reclaim your life. Focus leads us deeper to the realm of emotions. Emotional resilience is not about suppressing pain, but about transforming our relationship with it. Imagine your mind like a deep lake. On the surface, storms may rage, but below, it remains calm. This is the goal, not to eliminate emotion, but to stop being ruled by it. The Buddha taught that we are punished by our anger, not for it. When we react without reflection, we extend suffering. But when we pause, breathe, and observe, we interrupt the cycle. Meditation becomes essential here. It creates the space between stimulus and response. With practice, this space grows, and in that space lies freedom. Resilience also requires that we view struggle not as failure, but as fuel. This is the growth mindset, rooted deeply in Buddhist understanding. The lotus blooms in muddy water. Likewise, your challenges are not obstacles. They are the conditions necessary for your awakening. Every rejection, every failure, every doubt is compost for growth. The mind naturally fears the unknown, but through mindfulness, we meet discomfort with curiosity. Ask, what is this moment teaching me? Journal your struggles. Reflect on your learning. Growth is not linear, and it is not always seen, but it is always happening when you stay present and open. However, growth also demands that we release. Letting go is one of the most difficult yet most powerful Buddhist practices. We cling to outcomes, identities, people, stories. And in that clinging, we create pain. The Buddha said, you only lose what you cling to. A tight grip creates suffering. Letting go does not mean indifference. It means trust. It means you stop carrying burdens that are no longer yours. Maybe it's a past mistake, a failed relationship, or an idea of who you thought you should be. Let it go. The space it leaves behind is not emptiness. It's room to breathe, room to become. And from that space, something new arises, authenticity. The final teaching is this: by living your truth, you become a light for others. You need not preach or persuade. Your presence, grounded in self-awareness, purpose, detachment, and integrity, becomes a quiet force. A bamboo tree spends years growing underground before rising. So too, your internal work may be invisible. But one day it will rise, and those around you will feel it. Your peace will ripple outward. Your honesty will give others permission to be honest. Your focus on self will not isolate, it will inspire. Because when one person chooses to live authentically, others remember that they can too. Now, this journey inward may feel unnatural in a society that tells you to look outward for answers. But Buddhist wisdom has always pointed in the other direction, inward, to the still point where clarity resides. You do not need to seek more, only to see more clearly. Each of these teachings builds upon the last. Self-awareness leads to purpose. Purpose leads to detachment. Detachment creates focus. Focus gives rise to resilience. Resilience leads to growth. Growth allows for letting go. Letting go creates authenticity. Authenticity becomes service. And all of it begins with a single, radical decision: to make yourself your priority. In 2025, the world will still be noisy. There will still be pressure. There will still be chaos. But your response to it can be different. You no longer have to run. You can pause. You can breathe. You can return to yourself. Let your daily life be your temple. Let your breath be your teacher. Let your choices be your path. Each moment is an invitation. You can step off the racetrack. You can walk slowly. You can see again. You can be again. The question is not whether the world will change. It is whether you will. So ask yourself, am I living in alignment with who I truly am, or am I performing for a world that never really sees me? Ask yourself, what am I clinging to, and what could I become if I finally let go? Ask yourself, if I focused only on my growth, what kind of light would I bring into the world? Not through effort, but by simply being who I already am. These questions are not academic. They are your next step. Focus only on you, not to withdraw, but to return, not to separate, but to remember. You already are everything you seek. Now, breathe, walk, begin.